Okay, awesome. Well, welcome. Special kind of addition to C4 Explosive Networking. This is called C4 Explosive Networking After Hours, and it's just another excuse for all of us to get together and hang out. No, just kidding. Um, so anyway, want to just welcome you all. Thank you so much for taking time and spending this Thursday evening with us. I'm super excited to have this very special panel of experts here today. You guys are in for a real treat. Yep, it's gone. A lot has gone into this, and I mean, it was kind of there's just a whole preparation and our presentation all was so fancy. I was like, man, I'm used to getting on here and just winging it, But I'm dealing with the experts, so got to grow up a little bit. So I'm Brian. Do you want to share our screen and we can get started, guys? If you have questions and things, please put them in the chat box. And we will hopefully have time for some questions, and then we will, you missed a slide, Brian. And then we'll have some open for discussion. So welcome tonight, you guys. C4 Networking, Google My Business. Next slide, please. And I am Natascha Weedon, founder and host of C4 Explosive Networking. And again, thanks so much for sharing this evening with us. So let's get started. I'm going to get into the intros. So next slide. So Brian Loebig is, some of you know Brian, most of you know Brian, but he's an award-winning technology blogger, owner of Loebig Inc., and specializes in CEO, web design, and social media solutions. He's a gifted musician and an avid Harley motorcycle rider. Those of you who know Brian know his go-giver nature, always there to help, and I'm fortunate to say that he's a dear friend to Rick and me. Next slide. Ann Brennan. Ann Brennan, owner of ASMM Digital Marketing, is a host of the podcast Helping Entrepreneurs Help Other Entrepreneurs. I love Ann's spirit and mission to empower small business owners through her podcast and connections. Also founder of Burgers and Brands for Suicide Prevention and an author. Definitely check out her podcast, and if you're lucky, you might even get to see her gorgeous, ginormous Great Dane, Rocky. That's always a treat. So that's Ann. Next slide. Sage Harper. Sage is the owner of Apollo Marketing, bringing family and mentorship to small and medium-sized businesses. Sage's heart is also a big giving one, always there with a helping hand and solution. He also is a host of a wonderful group called No Agenda Business Chat, where he's just there simply to add value and share ways we can grow and collaborate and pivot at times. Sage is also a very big Star Wars fan, so those of us who are also Star Wars fans, it's a super cool admiration connection. Next slide. Megan Coburn. Just met Megan. She's my new friend that it just feels like, kindred spirits. Kind of feels like we got on the phone and had a conversation from a long time ago. She is a Google My Business strategist and a level 10 Google Guide, which is a most prestigious honor. She has spent her career gathering skills from multiple industries and applying them in unlikely ways to support the community she loves and the organizations that make them up. Now, that is truly a way to pivot, taking things you love and sharing them with different areas and community organizations. So I met Megan, like I said, on the phone last Friday, thanks to Brian, who made an introduction. And I just love, our chat was amazing. I loved just that fearless approach to life she has. We talked about family, we talked about our, past stories and all. And I'm just looking forward to getting to know her better. I love the Jill of all trades that she was using for herself. So before we go on any further, I want to just say something. Except for Brian, all these relationships, and a lot of you guys who come to C4 and all, were created during this time of COVID-19. Online, over the phone, on Zoom calls. And I like to refer to those as kind of the silver linings of what's happening. One wonders if our paths would have crossed otherwise. And I'm really, really grateful for that. All you guys who are here, I'm Brian, Megan, and Sage. You guys all have this heart of contribution and this like we rise by lifting others mentality, which is really like the foundation of what I believe in, Rick believes in, and so I feel very fortunate to have crossed paths with each of you. So let's get started. This is Google My Business plus visibility equals real results. I'm going to hand this over to Brian now to do an overview, and then each panelist will present. After each speaker, they will take 3 questions, so please put your questions in the chat, and we'll pick 3, and we'll go from there. Brian, can you take it away?
All right. This is kind of like our little introduction to Google My Business, and Megan came up with the idea of having us just take one or 2 minutes each on this slide and talk briefly about our journey to Google My Business. And this whole slideshow is going to be about our journey. I think it would be good for each of us kind of touch base on this slide about our journey into Google My Business. Google My Business, as Megan put on this slide, is a relatively new player in the world of social media and SEO, but as you're going to find out today, is incredibly rich with potential. And there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to continue to learn since they continue to change the platform. Just got a notification today about some things about Google. And then we encourage you to stay until the end of the presentation because there's going to be some exclusive and compelling case studies and information opportunities that you can engage in at the end. So that's a way to coerce you to stay through the whole presentation. So let's start off with Ann first and talk briefly about your kind of quick journey to Google My Business.
So actually, Brian, I go into this in a little more depth, but we started almost by accident with Google My Business. We were helping people with their reviews, and then we just started noticing that Google was adding one thing after the other. And so we called our clients and we said, hey, we're going to update these for you. Let us do that. So that's where we started. I'll go into depth about that in a little bit.
Very good. Sage?
So when we started with Google My Business, we were really focused on Google Plus at the time because Google Plus was like, the thing and where you needed to spend a lot of your time. And it was actually kind of earth shattering on the day they said, okay, Google Plus is no longer going to be supported because we had spent so much time in there. However, just seeing, we've always known that from my time since I've been in search, that Google is just such a major player, and the ability to have that visibility in search and to leverage that is just paramount for any business out there. So I'm glad you guys are all here today, and I hope you guys learned a ton.
For myself, I jumped on the Google bandwagon as soon as Gmail came out. One of my first clients in marketing was Volvo in Central Virginia, and they were involved with Gmail when it was when even the enterprise version was free. So they got free 50 free Gmail accounts connected to their brand name. And then I've been through Google through all their changes from Google Maps to Google Plus Local, Google Places for Business, and now Google My Business. It's like this evolving amoeba, and so that's kind of my journey. Okay, Megan?
And I came to Google My Business by contributing to the platform as a user. Contributed so much that someone at a conference told me Google Business is the perfect job for you if you love being a Google local guide so much. I gave it a try, and I've developed a knack for it over the last few years.
Fantastic. And so I wanted to start off with this picture because this is myself and my lead SEO manager, who Wendy knows quite well, Rob and Renee in the front here. We flew down to Houston, Texas last year because we had formed a close partnership with eWeb Results. eWeb Results is one of the nation's premier SEO and marketing firms. They actually have the world's most popular SEO and internet marketing podcast in the world. And so our entire SEO team
This
pretty much
was next door, portable jail.
make sure you're muting yourself. Thank you. We've been following them for ages, and occasionally I'll hire them, at their high hourly rate to help us answer SEO questions about clients. And then we've contributed to their podcast. And so eventually they were having a grand opening. So we decided to fly out there, and we've kind of formed a partnership with them. Since they're getting so much bigger, they actually refer us their smaller clients. So especially for SEO and web design, my team does about 150 SEO projects annually. We have about 70 plus active ongoing SEO clients. I'm a Google local guide level 6. You heard that Megan is level 10. She's more like level 20. And a Google Ads partner, and loebigink.com is my business. So I thought I'd start off my presentation without any assumptions. And so asking what is Google My Business. So I'm sure there's some people in here. Raise your hand if you do not know what Google My Business is. Raise your hand. Fantastic. I'm glad, Andrea and Rick. This is a great place to start. So is it a Google Maps listing? Is it a new social media channel? Is it a place someone can leave a review? Is it that information box on the right side of a Google search? Yes, it is. It's all those things. And so I want to go through some examples, like visual examples of what that is, so you can kind of see. I'm sure if you've been on Google, you've seen this stuff. So if you just Google something local with a city name in it, such as estate planning in Chevy Chase, you're going to see what's called the local pack. You're going to see like a little mini map, and then you'll see businesses listed below it. So those things are controlled by your Google My Business listing. The next way you can show up is through what's called the knowledge panel. So if you just type a word, perhaps without any what we call local modifiers or a city, you'll get, if it's a business name, you're going to, if they have, well, not even if they've claimed their business listing. A lot of times businesses can show up in this knowledge panel, even if they don't even know anything about Google My Business, because Google pulls in public records information and puts your information in there if you're a business. And so it's one of the opportunities you have to claim and find yourself, your business on Google. And so you could be there even if you don't know about it, if you're a licensed business somewhere in the United States or in the world. And so the knowledge panel on the right-hand side there, that's another way you can show up on Google, and that is also controlled by your Google My Business listing. The same way you show up in the local pack results, that same profile is controlled in both these places. The third way is in the map itself. And so if you're searching, for example, estate planning in Chevy Chase, this is the map results. And so you're going to get a list of local businesses here, and then they'll show up as pinpoints if it's a local business without not a service area business. It'll show up as a pinpoint on the map on the right hand side here. And so if you click on one of these, it'll highlight that little pin will pop up somewhat prominently and show you more about that business. And so then so let me go back one. So let's say you click on profit law firm, like click on this listing. When you click on that, it'll take you to that the detail about that business. They'll get rid of all the other pins, and assuming you want to look at more detail about profit law firm, and then it'll show you this information. And all this is controlled by your Google My Business listing. It'll show you your reviews, allow you to have directions. You can save it if you have a Google profile. You can send that information to your phone, et cetera, et cetera. Phone numbers. And this is right here. This link back to your website is what creates some of that SEO value. Anything that links back to your website is good for your visibility on the internet. And so I talked about a service area versus a local business. And so Profit Law Firm actually has a physical address in Chevy Chase, and so they have the pinpoint. But if you're not a business with a physical, like a storefront, like if you work for home, like a lot of us, you can tell Google that you serve people in an area, in a physical area, and you can define the area. And so I tell, this is for Loebig Inc. I've told Google that I serve basically Maryland and Washington D.C. all the way out. So it's trying to capture all of Maryland basically with this map. So you can say, I serve everybody in the United States. I serve, just a smaller radius, that kind of thing. So those are the most common ways you can show up in Google My Business. So my kind of journey, or how I help clients, or I help people get more visible on the internet through search engine optimization, is through like keyword strategies on their website. However, over the last couple of years, we've required people to claim and optimize their Google My Business profile because it's such a strong signal to Google, and it will allow you to show up on page 1 of Google before your website will even have a chance of ranking on Google, because Google has such a strong algorithm for local search results. Google, when you're searching, especially like on your phone, when you're searching for something like pizza, it's going to take your IP address from your phone and give you results that are physically close to where you're at. And so that's why small and local businesses have a strategic competitive advantage over even multinational, big national corporations, because Google wants to show the local results. And so it behooves you, if you're a small business, if you're a startup business, the first thing I say, Google My Business is more important than your website at this point. More than 50% of search traffic on Google does not leave that platform. Like Google's trying to keep everyone on the platform. That happened as of over the last quarter. Global internet search traffic, over 50% in the last quarter, does not leave the Google platform, which means if you don't have a Google My Business profile, you're missing out on a gigantic opportunity for visibility on the internet. And so what I do with SEO, even if I'm doing just a very simple kind of small SEO project for somebody, the first thing I know Ann talks about is, Google claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. And I'm excited to hear how our other presenters approach this, and especially how our featured presenter, Megan, has really dug deep into this and helped people really maximize and leverage maximum potential on this important platform for your internet presence. Questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Yes, so we have a couple of questions. If anybody else wants to put one in, we've got time for 3. Eric McGinley is asking, can you tell Google that you serve an Eastern Standard Time?
It will automatically adjust to your location. So if you say that, if you set up your Google My Business profile for somewhere on the East Coast, it's gonna default to that time frame. So now what you can't do is, let's say this is kind of interesting, I'm just thinking about it. If you're, like, let's say you live in Colorado, but you have a business but you do a lot of business in Washington, D.C., you cannot tell Google to choose the East Coast time frame, because you're going to be claiming that profile in Colorado. You might want to think, well, I want to show up though. I want to claim the East Coast. I want to be present on the East Coast. And so then Google would tell you, well, you need to have a business on the East Coast. You need to have a physical location. You need to be working from there in order to claim an additional location for a Google My Business listing.
Okay, and Rick is asking, can it be set up for serving global customers? Great question.
That's a Megan question.
Okay.
You want to answer that, Megan?
Absolutely. Anything can be set up to serve global customers. Your main concern is that when you start a listing on Google, depending on how active you are, how much search traffic you have, you are given a relative score. And the easiest way to understand how that works is you are given so much butter. How much bread are you choosing to spread it onto? So if you say you serve the entire US, great, you're going to be findable, but not quite as much as if you truly focused your energies on a specific hyperlocal market. So if you're going to spread to global service, you may want to consider the value of being regionally known and using your Google business to show up based on name recognition instead of categorical or industry-based searches.
I knew she was going to have the best answer. Any other questions?
Yes, West is asking, how does content, i.e. photos and videos, impact/help my Google My Business?
Aha. Megan's going to go in some detail, so
I'll
let's
go
hold
into
off
depth
that
on that.
question for later. However,
Okay.
with my experience, I can answer from just my experience with working with businesses is the more content you post, in my experience, the more visibility you're going to get. And so the other thing I've noticed, this is just this is kind of anecdotal information, is when you're doing different types of Google postings, like when you're doing inside the office building kind of pictures and that kind of thing, more visibility happens when you do not have people in those pictures, especially if it's inside an office. However, also, it's basically more, I'll let Megan go into more detail, but that's kind of my initial anecdotal information. And I've because I've seen that and I've seen traffic and visibility go up, I encourage clients to do regular postings, even if they don't have like a picture, a picture-friendly business, even if they're like a law office and they're not, they don't have products to post on there. There's still creative ways you can do photography and different things to post content, especially video content too.
Okay, great. You wanna,
Right, thank you.
Welcome.
you wanna continue,
Yeah,
or
let's move on. You
we
want to
can
introduce the
do
next?
some more questions at the end?
Yeah, we'll do more questions at the end. So you want me to introduce the next?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, let's
wanna-
let's segue right to Ann Brennan.
All right, thanks, Brian. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I started with Google. And I told you a little bit in the beginning, we do social media for people. And so we also, one of the parts of that is to make sure that their reviews are good, because we think that's important, that you're paying attention to your reviews. But when Google started adding these things, we started noticing that the more we added, if we added services, if we added the address, if we added special hours for the holidays, every time we added something, we got more for it. And it was just a matter of noticing it. And then as soon as they put up post, everything changed. Can you go to the next slide?
Yep.
So I think it's almost a secret. I'll stand on stage, and I stood just, I guess in October, I stood on stage, and there were a couple hundred people in the room. And I said, how many of you, actually, Joel was there. And I said, how many of you know your Google My Business password? And maybe 10 people out of 200 raised their hands. People didn't know what it is. So it's almost a secret. And why that matters is it gives you the opportunity to beat your competition. If they're not doing it, you're much more likely to show up. I think my opinion is that in the next 5 years, this will change, and your competition will be a lot more stiff. You'll have your competition will be a lot harder. But now you're not. If you get in there, you're probably going to be the only one in your area who's doing it. Can you go to the next slide? So what we say about anything, actually, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or anything, is that you always want to make sure you optimize that platform. And by that, people freak out. They're like, oh my God, what do you mean? Optimization, I have to call somebody, I have to hire them, I have to pay for that. And you really don't. All it really means is filling in your information, giving it everything. Don't leave it blank. If they give you 300 characters to use 300 characters, and use them wisely. So let's talk about what you add. You add your information. So you add your address, you add your hours, you add your tags, you add your website address. That's really important so people can get back to you. You add anything on that first page, they give you the option of adding. So if you're a woman-owned business, that's a great place to put, I'm a woman-owned business. I think right now, if you are a minority-owned business, you can put that there. So if you're a veteran-owned business, you can put it there. So add that information. You can answer your reviews. And I cannot believe how few people answer the reviews. Answer them whether it's a good review or a bad review. Answer your reviews every time. Photos, the more photos you put, the better. And we all have hundreds of photos of our businesses. So use them, put them up, take advantage of it. Services is where we saw the biggest difference. If you put in your service, use the keywords that have to do with your business. What are people looking up? So don't just say, oh, I'm a plumber. Well, that's great. You're a plumber. We snake drains, we clean drains, we redo kitchens, we redo bathrooms. Add all of those services individually, because that will help Google to know what you do. That's what you're trying to give them. If you are a restaurant, put in your menu. And I do this because honestly, I use Siri a lot. And so I'll say, hey, Siri, I'm hungry, right? And she's more likely to find food near me if somebody's got in the menu. Say, Siri, I want some tacos. She's going to find it if the menu's there. So please do put your menu in. And then products. Give them one more place to buy things. Why not? And if you don't have something that you don't have a product, create one. Create a product you can add that you can sell. It really does make a big difference. Can you go to the next slide? That when you talk about posting, we talked about content, creating content, use it. They give you a place to put updates. They give you a place to put offers and events. If you have these things, put them up there. I noticed on Brian, I noticed on yours that you put up a minute ago, it said an event you have coming up. I saw it down on the left-hand side. It shows that. If you have videos and you have things like that, put them up. It's going to show it. The more you put, the more they're going to show it, and the more often you're going to come up in the search. And I think that's it.
Yep.
Oh, questions. Yay.
Anybody got any? Okay, we've got one question. Is it good or not good for virtual businesses that serve USA, North America, global markets? Sounds like it's best for service-based or product-based companies serving local or regional markets. That's from Rick.
That's how I think of it, but mostly I work with those. So I'd be interested in what Megan has to say about that.
What was the question again?
Rick said, is it good or not good for virtual businesses that serve US, North America, and global markets? Sounds like it's best for service-based or product-based companies serving local or regional markets.
No, so my opinion, Megan can chime in and affirm this.
You first.
However, I work with some national businesses, global businesses, and virtual businesses, and our opinion is the way we do SEO, we want to establish a local footprint first. We want to establish a local connection, even if you serve globally, because you're going to be working from somewhere. You're not working from the Pacific Ocean. You're physically sitting somewhere in the world, right? And so our opinion is, you claim that you can say you serve, you can do a service area. You can make it very wide if you're a large organization and you serve a big area, but you're going to be claiming that business from your local, wherever your physical location is for that business, if it's your home or somewhere else. And so we want to create that. So Google My Business is critical, is even probably more critical for those organizations, because you really want to get a handle, you want to create a connection from Google to the website so that you have that dynamic connection, that connection to Google and your business property. Because you're not going to be able to have the same local signals on your website as you would if you're a local business. And so Google My Business helps you create that connection, that digital connection, and then you can and so it might sound counterintuitive that you're going to say that you're going to have this local, very local friendly platform like Google when you're this virtual business. But that will help set the stage for you to then start ranking nationally or globally. That's our experience. Megan?
So can I interject though, quick, yeah. Brian? Because I want to push back on that, because I think Tascha's and My Business is such that it wants to be set up so that wherever we are, even in the middle of the Mediterranean, that we could service a client. So I'm curious, I'm confused about how it shows up, because we want to be able to work virtually from anywhere. So therefore, that's why I wonder if we're, in India for, let's say, 6 months, how does that impact the local market here back in the DC metro area, or how does that work? I don't get it.
You've got all kinds of really unique opportunities available to you if you're not tethered to one location forever. The thing that I always tell my clients when they come to me, doesn't matter what the industry, the first step to finding out what kind of impact you can have on Google business in your category, in your area, is to run a competitor analysis search. Figure out who your competitors are, look at what they're doing from every angle you could consider taking action. Their Google business profile will have all kinds of details about who's looking for them, how they're looking for them, what photos their clients are posting, what they think they should look like on Google. But beyond that, if you're going to be traveling, you should not pick up and move your Google business location from Washington, D.C. to India just because you're there. You should get a postcard at your hotel in India and establish a new satellite location in that geography. And then you should maintain it for as long as humanly possible. Just because you're physically in one spot does not mean your business does not have a home base in all kinds of locations. So the solution to that butter and bread conversation I had with you earlier, get more butter.
Right.
Awesome.
So just to piggyback on that, for all of you guys, every business can have multiple locations. Google My Business absolutely supports that and rewards that. The whole point that Google My Business and this map area was built, though, was to help support the smaller guys, so the small businesses, and to help, unfortunately, some of us might have feelings about Home Advisor and some of those other ones, but it's helped us to compete with some of those businesses. As a brand new business, have a little bit of an edge on those, because a lot of the Home Advisors, they won't have a local presence on there. So they'll never show up in Google Maps or be a competitor for you guys. They'll still show up organically, but not in the map pack. So for you guys as a brand new business, Megan brings up an amazing point. Success leaves clues. Right. So anytime you're looking for a new area, you're looking for an opportunity, especially where you want to try to host your business or where you want to, put your roots down. By all means, there's clues out there. You can see what your competitors are doing, especially if you're trying to do research on a brand new business or a new niche. If you go on there and you see who is ranking the top and you can see how active they are, it's going to give you some kind of identifier on how much you need to grow your hustle muscle to actually compete with them as well.
Diet is challenging your hotel statement. How can you get a postcard at a hotel when you can't even get one at a co-working space?
I'm going to tell you, you have to be creative. You have got to be creative. It has nothing to do with, I got my driver's license, I'm going 25 miles an hour in a 25 zone. It's, did you get the postcard? Because if you get the code that's on the postcard, how you choose to deport yourself ethically is up to you from there. But there are people all over the world that establish hundreds of thousands of fake listings worldwide. If you want to see some really compelling examples, you can look up locksmiths in the United States, or specifically car towing services in the state of Montana. In December of 2019, they had to issue a warning from the governor because there were so many fakes out there. So all you really have to know is the bad guys are not going to play by the rules, and what are you comfortable doing to get your postcard? Because that's the barrier. And I would love to say that no one out there is breaking the rules, but they are. And you may as well have a shot at being in the arena with them if you have the better service.
Awesome. So I've got one other question here. Cindy, I think what Cindy's saying is basically, can she change her verified location? She seems to have 3 profiles, and she put a local post office in because they wouldn't allow her to have her place of business POB in there. So can she edit the post office? I guess it's a verification question. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but you should, like, if I move, well, we did move, right? When I moved, I was able to edit my address. So you should be able to edit your address in there. Having the 3 profiles, though, is a little different. Brian, you want to say it?
Yeah, I don't recommend clients have multiple profiles for the sake of trying to rank in Google Maps. That's what Megan just suggested, trying to do. I strongly advise my clients against doing that kind of thing. It's a quick way to get all your profiles actually delisted. I have an example of I work with a couple national franchises. I'm not going to name this particular one, but let's just say it's a restoration type business, mitigation, and they've got hundreds, of franchises across the United States. And one of their staff went in and made some changes to their listings, and every single franchise every single one of their Google My Business accounts got dropped off of the Google Maps, and business went down about 40% in the following 2 weeks. It was a disaster. And so it's one of the reasons I say don't play with, Google My Business listing. Plumbers are notorious for this. I've worked with a lot of plumbers, and then trying to, it's very competitive, and so creating lots of Google My Business listings using post offices, using what's the post office boxes and
PO boxes,
PO boxes,
PO boxes, all
USPS. Those are all kind of disallowed now by Google. What is allowed though is a co-working space that you can receive mail. That is working. That's legit. And so I would say open up that co-working space in India, and get mail there. Get the cheapest, and stuff across the world is sometimes cheaper than the United States. Get a co-working office in that space where there's a physical person that can accept your mail and then give you the postcard address. That'd be closer to legitimate way to do that. But I would say if you've got 3 listings.
Thank you for clarifying that addendum, Brian. I appreciate that.
What's that?
Thank you for clarifying that addendum. I appreciate that because I didn't go into that part.
So I would say it's really best to have one strong listing. It's like trying to manage 3 Facebook accounts. You're going to have to really populate, and manage 3 accounts. And if you're a small business, I would say go all in on that one platform, because Megan's going to give you, the rest of the group is going to give you some amazing information, and it's going to be too much to try to really manage as a small business, like multiple accounts, in my opinion. I say go all in on that primary account.
Right, especially because most people aren't managing one right now.
Right.
And chances are you're not managing one. So don't, and I know, Cindy, that's not what you did. You didn't do that on purpose. But the point is, manage one and see how you do.
One of my teammates in the room here, Steven Rabel, he's probably the top expert on my team for managing Google My Business listings, and actually helping businesses get rid of multiple duplicate listings. We have a new client that just came through today that has 2 listings, and they created a second one and they didn't do it correctly. They do have a second location, but they didn't do it correctly, so Google prevented them from having their DC location approved. And so we do a lot of that kind of Google My Business cleanup, assisting and advising clients with that process. So we always recommend have that one verified listing that you have control over. Don't let a marketing firm have control over your listing either. Like, even though we're marketing firms, you want to be the primary owner on your business listing. You want to have control over that stuff. You can make somebody else an owner, but keep yourself as the primary owner. That's what Google calls it. Let's move on to the next person. We can save some more questions. Yeah. Next up is
Paige.
The attractive.
Paige, take it away. I love that. So funny. Look at that.
Hey guys, so I had something I was going to say, but I'm going to actually just jump into something a little bit different here, because some of these questions are going on this. So I'm going to give you some just quick tips on verification. So if you've never done a Google My Business, you need some tips on verification. Megan, I'm not going to step on your toes, am I? Or should I hold off? Okay, so here's the first thing. A lot of us have businesses that run out of the house, right? Can I see a raise of hands? How many of you guys are working from remotely? Okay, so that's awesome. That's absolutely encouraged. So here's a couple of things you need to ask yourself. Is your house near the nearest metropolitan area that you want to service? And if the answer is no, then my recommendation to you guys would maybe find a way that you can find a virtual address in that metropolitan area where you are servicing. Regus is a great option. And by the way, for those of you guys who are traveling in India, Regus is in India as well. Regus has a virtual office for like $150 a month. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's great for that. Again, you cannot use a PO box. You can't use a USPS box. However, I've gotten some verified by those. And I will never touch those listings, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you do an edit on this listing, there's a very good chance that after the fact that Google can come back and crush it. All right. Another thing for you guys who are actually doing verifications on these, you can't verify over phone anymore because of COVID right now. The only way you can verify is via postcard. All right. So if something happens and you make an edit and you actually get the slap on the hand, it's extremely difficult to get a hold of someone, unless you're Megan, that can actually, and probably Steven as well, to get a hold of someone that can actually help restore your listing on there. So you guys be careful with these things. What I tell people is this, is when you guys are going in to set up Google My Business for the first time, set up everything. And actually, I'm going to give you a checklist in just a second of what we do internally. By all means, you guys screenshot this, as well. And this is what we do for our clients. But when you guys set up everything first and then do your verification. Once you hit doing the verification, what you have to do is you have to wait. It says 5 days. A lot of times it takes up to 2 weeks right now. But while that period is going on, you guys do not go in and mess with your Google My Business. If you make any edits on there, you absolutely run the risk of actually getting another swat on your hand and that postcard never coming, or when it shows up, you say like, wait, now I'm permanently banned, and you have to start all over again. Guys, it happens all the time. Be careful of where you are. If I'm trying to start a brand new address for a business and I'm in Maryland, but I'm trying to start my business in Florida, my IP address might actually matter on this one, where I'm actually trying to set this up. You could also get swatted on those things as well. You guys, Google's trying to prevent all these spamming guys that are out there. And that's why locksmith is one of like the hardest industries in the world to get verified under Google My Business, just because there's pop-ups all the time. And there are a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but there's more nefarious people in this industry than there are in others that are trying to set up fake addresses. Criminals. So the other thing too, do not use a Gmail address when you're doing your Google My Business verification. Use Yahoo, use something else. And here's why. This is just gonna be me with my skepticism. If I end up using an address or an email address that I don't check that often, that I'm just using for verification, what happens if at some point I end up getting blocked out of that address, or I can't get in there because it says an unknown computer? Then I've actually locked myself out of that completely. So I would say use whatever address you've been using for years for your verification, and just leave it as that, all right? It's okay. The other thing I want to say too is when you're doing your edits and you're adding everything on there, I would even include building the Google website. All right. What you don't need is you don't need to have a link to your website. Brian already said that before. I know hundreds of businesses that are actually getting a great amount of business and they don't even have a website. They do it all straight through Google. And if they're running any kind of ad spend, they do conversions in that platform, such as Facebook or straight through Google Ads. You guys don't need to worry about that. So what I recommend you do is when you do your verification for this, if you're just building your website, don't put your website on there. All right, because what it does is it can send a signal to Google to say, wait, this person doesn't even have a website. Aha, you're trying to trick me. And they can, again, slap your hand on that. So what I recommend you guys do is use a Google website. If you're gonna build that, build a one-page single website through there, or don't even put it in there, and then do your verification and wait for that card to come in before you add anything else. So hopefully that was good tips for you guys. Anyone else have any tips for the panel? Want to add to that?
Let me show you your checklist.
I'm going to get up to, I don't know, you guys are just scanning through my stuff. Can you back up a little bit? I haven't, okay. So this is what we do as Apollo. We're all about lead generation, lead nurturing, and sales. So part of that, go ahead, next slide, is through lead generation. So our ability to show up in maps and search is paramount for the success of all of our clients. So we're in Google My Business all the time. The next word, please. So here's how we help our clients. So this is our Google My Business optimization checklist. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this or with your camera, whatever you want to do, I encourage you guys. So what Ann brought up before, as in all the different sections, this is actually how we go through it. And we actually, every one of my guys that do this, I try to put a status on here and I try to check all these things. Plus, a lot of times I have them fill it in on my sheet as well. So I have a reference outside of Google of what these things are set up as. Some of these things really help because it can help actually give a little bit of a boost to my Google My Business as well. What I mean by that is this. Here's one of them. If you see underneath item 10 on there, the short URL, this is the direct URL for your Google My Business listing. This is powerful in a couple ways. The first one is on your social media profiles. If you're linking back to your Google My Business profile, you're actually giving a little bit of boost and sort of saying, hey, I give my Google My Business profile a little bit more authority than if it was just standing out there alone. So what you're doing is giving a backlink to it or sort of vouching for that Google My Business profile. Another good thing about that short URL as well, how many of us care about reviews out there? Anyone care about reviews? How many of us don't have enough reviews on our Google My Business or our social media profiles, right? So you guys, I'd say your shortened URL that you get on this one is a great, easy URL to share on your invoices. Share it after the fact. When you finish it with the conversation, say, hey, how did I do today? And based on the response, you can give them that short URL. There are ways where you can actually give them a link straight to your review pop-ups. When they open the link, it actually pops up the review page right on there. But I'm not going to show you guys that here right now. I'm telling you the shortened URL is right, for the most part, is good enough. The rest of these things is all under the info section. Scroll back up, please. So the business section, the business name is all under the info. Then you get down to your photo optimization. Before you guys do your photo optimizations and start uploading all of these, what I recommend you guys do is build a repository of them first and try to figure out what you have. I have people that want to put stuff in there a little bit and they take stuff out and then they throw some other stuff in there. Don't even worry about that. Build a good repository first of your own stuff, and then you can upload these based on the sections after the fact. It's going to look that much better, and you'll notice that you'll be able to tell the story about your business a lot better as well. So along with that, when you're uploading your photos and you're doing your photos, if you've taken pictures via your phone is a wonderful, wonderful asset for your Google My Business and is really underutilized. The reason why is every time you take a picture through your phone, it has information of that photo that gets stored on that photo, such as your GPS coordinates, such like where the photo was taken. Those are all actually really cool indicators for Google to help verify your business. And it also gives you a little bit of bump as well. All these little things add up. So it's really, really helpful. So photos from your phone, even if they're not the best, can actually really, really help you guys. Next slide, please. And next we go into photos and videos. You guys do a simple video. Just say, hey, I'm Bob. I'm with Bob's Tires. I'm so happy to see you guys. Thanks for checking out my business. That's cool. It's personable. It's real. It's of you, hopefully. Put videos up there. And when they were talking before about using all these different aspects of, I just saw a cat walk by the screen. When you use all these different things within Google My Business, it's absolutely there for a reason. So go ahead and make sure you maximize all those different sections and put information across the spectrum there. That includes your 360 pictures as well, your interior, exterior, at work, even your team. Guys, I've seen a ton of retail businesses that really amplify their game next level with using 360 videos and 360 images and actually stitching those images together. Google actually understands the stitching of those images together, and you can actually have a full walkthrough of your brick and mortar through Google My Business. It's really, really cool, and it's very, very impactful, and it's helped a lot of our clients as well. The last couple of things on here is your products and services. Ann already talked about those. That's great. And the last thing is website. No one's talked about website yet. Google, based on as you put your information in there, Google will actually pop out a website for you. It looks horrendous. It looks absolutely horrendous, but it's something. And if you don't have a website built and you're waiting to get verified, use that as your website for your verification because it has all the information up there. My only thing is make sure that there's a little checkbox. If you have a real website, make sure that checkbox is unclicked, saying it is not your primary website. If you have that clicked, what that means is if anyone clicks website through your Google My Business, or if someone's searching for you, it's actually going to open up that Google website and not your own website. So that's it for my slides. Any questions?
So Sage, Laura's asking for you that you mean do not put up your website if it's not complete or ready or something else that may red flag to Google, not if they have a solid website that has history and value, correct? She
Correct.
Just wanted to be more
Correct. You guys, your most precarious situation you ever have with Google and Google My Business is when you're waiting to do verification. And those verification periods, you're walking a tightrope. And a lot of businesses don't realize that. And they'll come back in there and start mucking with it more because that's what we do. We love to fiddle with stuff. As soon as you hit verification, you're waiting for that postcard, don't touch it. Don't touch it. And if you don't have a proper website set up, you have two options. Either leave the website out completely, all right, or your second one is set up that Google website and just point to that one for that time.
Awesome.
I would only advise that if you do not have a website, I wouldn't advise creating that little Google website. If you have a website, the way the history behind that little Google integrated website was really for developing countries, third world countries where they don't have professional web platforms, where they don't have the ability to get web hosting in order to create a website. It was actually a way to get those other countries on board and have more visibility on the internet. That's why Google originally had created that integrated little friendly, easy to create ugly website.
Okay, so, and Eric McGinley is asking, so does that mean don't add blog posts to your website during verification?
No, that's absolutely, you can add blog posts. What I mean by is if your website has that under construction or coming soon, or it still says hosted by GoDaddy because you haven't built anything yet, or this next new thing that's on there. That's what we're talking about. If you already have a website and you're just adding new content on your website, you're absolutely fine.
Awesome. So that's the questions for now. Should we go on and have Megan take us from here?
Sure.
Hi.
So we talked a little bit earlier about what a level 10 local guide is, and I gave you the numbers here of what it takes to be that, just so you can kind of throw up in your mouth a little bit, everybody. It took me a few years to become a level 10 local guide. The only reason it happened that way is it was something for me to do, and I was a mom home with my kids, and it made me feel relevant. Right now, I've got a little over 193,000 points. What that means in terms of breakdowns of actions, about 38,500 questions I've answered. Does this place have handicaps access? Does this place have car seats? Is this place open since COVID? I've contributed 20,000 photos, 57 million views. I've left a whole ton of reviews. They've been viewed a lot of times. And to back up what some others have said, I maybe have 50 responses to my reviews from my businesses. You would think maybe 10%, maybe 30%. We're talking 3 to 5. No one is in this area. Altogether, it means that I've added in 78,000 separate actions. When you contribute at that level, Google invites you to come to something called the Connect Live Summit. They put out a call to certain levels of local guides worldwide. You can apply. If you make it, they fly you into San Jose. They put you up in a hotel. They pump you full of booze, and they ask you questions about how the project is going and what you think Maps should be doing in the future. They give you a few little teasers on what's going to be coming out in Maps, let you think you're in the loop, and then they watch what you're doing really closely. For me, that was really fun. They gave me a Google Street View camera, a Ricoh Theta, which is a little 360 camera. Those globes that those guys were talking about, it's a one-button push. Anybody can do it. The whole thing runs off your phone. So I did my thing, and I went out and I added a whole ton of pictures, 27.4 thousand to Google Maps, and got invited to the Google Street View Summit the next year, which is where they bring all of those Street View photographers who contribute at obscenely high levels. There were only 3 local guides there out of a few hundred people. It was mostly corporate and a very interesting environment, getting to meet people who are monetizing the program. What no one's mentioned so far is that when you're a Google local guide, the people who leave reviews, you're not allowed to get compensated for what you do in any way. You can't get a 10% discount. You can't get a free dessert. You can't have anything come to you. It can happen, but if you're caught, they'll kick you out of the program. And the program is very heavily community-based. People are very intermixed with each other. There's a real sense of family. And so those who have been banned, they have some pretty emotional reactions if you look into it. So it's special. At my first Google Local Guide Summit, I ran into a marketer from the Philippines who told me that he thought I'd be a good fit for Google Business. I came back home to Montana at the time, now in Seattle, took on a business, and found out I had a knack for it. And that's what we're going to be explaining a little bit more to you today, including some case studies. Next slide, please. So where Google Maps came from is really important to understand the approach that I've taken to Maps and the reason I've gotten the results I have. It's been built from different databases that were being imported, from crowdsourced information through Google Local Guides, and now most recently through Google Crowdsource or artificial intelligence that's being applied to the map. The local guides who contribute are, like I said, held to a different standard of behavior, but they're passionately competitive about their contributions to the program. People post this stuff to their Twitter every couple of days. People hashtag every photo that they put up on Instagram. It's a really interesting little circle of folks. And there are 153 million of them in the world in under 5 years. It's not by any means a small community. Next slide. This is the group from last year. If you click again, you'll see how many of them were from the United States. We are small potatoes in the grand scheme of things here in the US. But as the home to Google, this is where they test run a lot of the programs that they roll out in other places. Next slide. So this is the first case study I'm going to share with you. This particular business for this case study was a small family-run burger joint in Montana. They had a location with absolutely 0 foot traffic. It wasn't even possible. No one could pass through. Their parking lot was terrible. They had absolutely no money for marketing. They literally had their teenage kids staffing the counter. They brought me on as their Google business gal. We did that horrible little website. We participated in the add the menu interface back when it would delete every 5th menu entry. I don't know if anyone remembers this. Not everything that goes into Google Business is always what you would expect to see for a corporate offering. It's usually pretty buggy on some of the newer features. The area that we opened up this Google Business listing in, 40,000 people proper. Within 90 days, they went from 0 to 25,000 hits a month. It was the only marketing they did outside of the owner's wife having a Facebook page that had just a tiny bit of interest in the interface, but she posted maybe 2-3 times a week. That was it. For them, the impact that they used and proved at this first location, they took to another location that had better foot traffic, and they were able to negotiate a screaming deal on a secondary location at a concessions booth because they were able to show their reviews and their following. Go ahead and tap one more time so we can pull up some of the extra details. One of the things that their listing had that was extremely valuable to them was the ability to say an impression in our area costs this many cents. We're all familiar with paying for Facebook ads. We pay 2 cents for someone to look at it, 10 cents, $2, $3 for someone to click on it. If you have 25,000 hits a month, it's really easy to extrapolate that to a value, even if you cut the value in half to make it really modest. The other thing that is really important to keep in mind, like these guys said, build a photo repository. And like Sage said, that data that's embedded in the photo when you take it on your phone, Google Maps was designed to be used on mobile. All of their emphasis is going there. That's where all the new features are rolled out. That's where the majority of their traffic comes from. Your phone takes the best photos possible for that interface because it's optimized to look good on this size screen. They don't want anything fancier. They don't want Photoshop. They don't want a $1,500 product photography session. They want things that look real. And what we've learned in the local guides program is that those highly edited photos don't get the top placement. People love to look at them. They look stunning, but the algorithms are designed to reward authenticity over pretty. Now, the last really interesting thing that we learned from this location was that Google is not just keyword indexing your services, they're also keyword indexing your reviews. This location ran a boyfriend special. If they brought in the boyfriend, somebody got a free milkshake. So many reviews were written about this boyfriend special. And would you believe within like a week, one of the keywords at the top of their listing that they put in a circle and you can click it and it'll bring up every review that's used it was boyfriend. They sold donuts and burgers, not boys. And it took almost no time for that to be executed. So one thing to keep in mind when you solicit those extremely important reviews from your customers is to seed them with the idea of what you need said in that review. You cannot say, as a Google business representative, you can't say, I want 5 stars. You can say, I'd love to see a picture of our burgers. I'd love to see a video of our location. And you can also say, would you talk about the accessibility? Would you let us know if you think we were a good value? And you can prime them to give you feedback on those things that you want your listing to be showing up for. And it does work, and it works fast. Next slide, please.
I want to add one thing to that, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
So I totally agree and have experienced the comments on the reviews having an impact in the search results. One of the ways you can also, a little hack for you as a business owner is always reply to those reviews, because your comments also show up in those search results, and you can be a little keyword friendly when you're doing your reply. I wouldn't be really, I would try to be very natural about it, but you can say thanks for the review. We strive to be the top SEO agency in Silver Spring.
Yeah, well, and even with the responding to reviews, what you have to remember is what people are coming to your reviews to see. They're coming to your 5 stars to see what people love about you. But those of us who are being really discerning, click on the 1 stars to see what people hated about you. And when they get down to the 1 stars, they're not really judging what people criticized about you. They're judging how you responded to them. So when you want to have you were a horrible customer, you didn't respond to me, this didn't go well. No, If you wouldn't be proud of your response and find it something that compelled other people to do business with you, don't say it. Because when that local guide or that individual updates their review time and time again, you don't get notified. So if they change what they said in that negative review and start a backbiting, bickering fight in your 1 stars, there's an argument going on that you don't even know is happening. So you have to be above board and Sunday school good when you respond to those things.
Agreed.
So along with
Sage.
that, I'd like to just ping on just real quick. You guys, negative reviews, or I should say like less than favorable reviews, are an opportunity for you guys. As a business owner, you need to remember that. It's a good opportunity, because when it's all rainbows and unicorns, a lot of us just put up that flag right away and say, something's not right here. I don't fully trust this. All right. A negative review left for a business is one of the best opportunities for anyone out there to see how that business handles that, how that business works to either resolve that or make it right with that person. You guys, Grant Cardone said like negative reviews are one of the best opportunities for a business to truly shine. And it's true. The way that you guys shine, the way that you guys respond to those negative reviews, everybody's watching for those. All right. Everyone wants to see someone get hit and knocked on their butt. It's how you handle yourself and how you get back up from those. And it's okay to even stand there and admit fault and say, sorry guys, we messed up on this one. Here's how I can help make it right. People love that. People love to see that you're there. You're not absent at the wheel, which so many business owners are. They're just like, just ignore it. Just ignore it. That's not the way to handle those. By all means, jump in there and be that person that Megan just described. Absolutely spot on.
And with that in mind, Sage, while you're sitting on your hands for those first 2 weeks while you're waiting for things to get verified, sit down and write out your responses to the 1 and 2 and 3 star reviews you're going to get, so that when it happens, you already know who you want to be and you've rehearsed that fight in the shower. That way you'll know it was a good decision and you won't be hesitating. You'll be tweaking words to make it fit the situation instead of trying to quell the feelings, because it feels hurtful. It's bad. Right. No one looks at a bad review and goes, whatever. Or if they do, I haven't met that guy.
You know, Megan, we actually have said when we have clients, we have this particular client who he just gets his feelings hurt. It breaks his heart. And we finally said to him, stop looking at the reviews. We're paying attention. So you trust us. As long as you trust us, you stop looking and we'll tell you if there's something you really need to be concerned about. Yes. Yeah, and we do. But it is sometimes people are so tender about it that they can't answer and they just need to not.
Yep. And I think, oh no, the thought left my head, Anne. You said something brilliant and my spark died.
That's it. Actually, it's funny because Tommy's on here and we had that same conversation. He's on here and he had got a review and he's like, I'm going to tell him. And I'm like, no, wait a second. And he called me back later. He says, thank you for telling me that. And I was like, yes. Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. So if you know something went wrong, the example actually from the business in the previous case study, owner got in a fender bender in the parking lot of Walmart or Target or whatever it was. And the person that she got in the fender bender with was not playing nicely. And within a couple of hours, 3 very negative, very hateful, very false reviews showed up on their listing. Things like, I found a cockroach in my food. Stuff that's just so absurd and negative that you'd think, what can we do? Owner, broken heart. We couldn't get those reviews removed for one reason. Google will, unless you have legal action pending, like legit serious legal action, not like I sent them a cease and desist letter, but you're in court, they will only behave and edit things based on what happens in that review interface. Their review, your response. So screen cap it, because once it's gone, you can't get it back. But also don't try to pick a fight with something when it doesn't matter. Because if a negative review from someone who has no other reviews, and this is like the local guide secret, if you've only left 3 reviews and I've left 1,000, my review is going to show up above yours and yours is going to float to the bottom. So if it's negative, but they've only got a few reviews, no one's listening to them anyways. So let your personality shine and move on. Does anyone else have anything to add, or should I pop down into the next case study?
Go to the next one.
Yeah,
okay.
That'd be great.
Brian talked about all the places that this can impact your search ranking. There are more than 15, and to be honest, I actually think there's more than that. And if you'll tap one more time, This is just some of the places that I've seen Google business activity impact search ranking, meaning the business owner's doing nothing else except the Google business. So like he said, that local pack, the top 3, near me searches, which if you look up the relevance of near me searches, you'll see statistics that are just unbelievable. I didn't even list them here because they just get better and better every day. Google Home is everything. The information in your Google profile that gets pulled out, the snippets, those little quotes that they put at the top, or the blurbs that you publish in your posts, in your info, that is all recalled when you say, hey Google, what's being served, what's happening. They talk to these people, those devices that they're marketing everywhere. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars going in, buy your Google Home at Costco, it's on sale. That puts your business voice distance away from every single person that's using it. So what you want to know is that the more active your Google business is when it's pulling information directly from it, they are literally doing your marketing for you. And it's in their best interest, Google's best interest, to serve people the best results possible. So if I like dirt cheap manicures, they're going to serve me dirt cheap manicure results when I ask for a manicure. But if I like $300 facials, they're going to serve me $300 facial results, not $45 facial results. They're already doing that for you. It's in their best interest to make the customer as happy as possible. So be transparent, be honest, and be quotable. Other places that it's embedded, software integrations, there's all kinds of different companies and interfaces that have API access to Google Maps in one way or another. Give them something to enjoy. There's embedded maps on websites. When you click a map on Yelp and it zooms in and you can see 15 map markers, the ones that show up have to do with wayfinding and traffic because they want you to enjoy going to that area and to take another look. So the more you do, the better chance you'll show up in those passive ways that don't seem quite as impactful, but might let the girl know who's going wedding shopping that your coffee shop is a half a block away. The other things that it shows up in, explore tabs, and in my own experience, unless you have a major multinational company coming in like Olive Garden size in your local market, there's a good chance that a Google business website is going to outweigh whatever meta tags they've paid for. If it's a $1,000 to $5,000 SEO optimize our website, your Google business website is likely going to be better than theirs as far as SEO indexing and all that, unless they got someone incredibly good and got lucky. Doesn't happen very often. You've also, the images that are on your Google business listing can be served up in images search results. So if you have great pictures of burgers and someone in your area types in burgers near me and then they click images to see what's around, you can show up there. So why not show up there? And then also, it's in your best interest as a Google business participant to help everyone else in your area get into it. Best example, small shopping mall near where I'm sitting right now, went and street viewed the whole place, 5 or 6 different business owners joined up, huge traffic boost for all of them because suddenly one of those locations was visible and everyone else in the strip mall was now more visible, and traffic begets traffic. There's a momentum capacity there. So if you're in a group of 6 different locations, get your neighbors in on it. They will help you grow. And then, so we already covered meta tags. It works very quickly. But the last one is that a huge part of your Google My Business profile score, impact, relevance has to do with the longevity. Claim it as soon as you can, even if you're not planning on putting a lot of time into it, because the longer a profile is around, the more powerful it is compared to someone who just showed up yesterday. Use it to your advantage. On to the next one.
Hold on, I have a question.
Oh yeah.
The photos, so 15 places of impact, the photos, I assume you're talking about photos in your Google My Business listing, right?
In your Google business listing can be, not always, but can be indexed across to regular Google image searches. So if I'm sitting at my computer and I type in burgers near me, there is a chance that if I go to look at the pictures, because I want to, post a Pacific Northwest burger picture to my blog, those Google Maps photos can show up in the image searches.
I was unaware of that. I was totally unaware of that possibly happening. It's good information, great information.
Yeah, it's clicks and it's traffic. So yeah, on to the next. This is an unfortunate lesson that I've learned that I caution everyone to pay attention to. I've utilized, and we've probably all utilized, auto posters for social media. The information that I learned about Google Business came from me using all of the different products in the ecosystem and seeing what they gamified to keep me interested. APIs kill all of the things that Google Business wants to reward, which is getting you into that listing as often as possible to interact with it. If you schedule up 80 posts in a Google Business auto poster, and there are several, so you can go in, you can put it up there, it'll send it out for every Tuesday, Thursday you want. You don't even have to go into the listing. It will do this to your traffic. Click one more time. Can anyone see where I started using the API? It's just a little bit in the last 3rd of August. Absolutely nothing changed about this entire profile's impact. And what happens when you stop logging into your Google Business is that red visibility, your search visibility on maps, it goes away. An API that's distributed by Google is a special software license between Google and the contractor. And if somebody goes south in that relationship, they can change everything that comes in from that auto poster. And that's what's happened in this particular situation here. This particular graph had a sister in the same geographical region that did not use the API, and their traffic pattern persisted. Stayed the same, no damage.
So this is like incredibly impactful for social media managers, like people who are
Yes.
managing, right?
You have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Like doing the posting directly from your phone to the profile, right? That's what you're suggesting?
From your phone is even better than your computer, but don't, if you have to log into Loom
like Hootsuite,
or
for example,
Hootsuite, don't do it.
Content Cal or
The impact of the stuff coming in from those auto posters can be changed with a click of a button. And typically, at least what I saw in the Google Street View community, is that when you have access to the program, they get to see your code, they get to see what you're doing, and then they implement the best features that you paid to develop into their core systems. And once they don't need you, you're not there anymore. So use what is good, but always pay attention to the impact of things on your listing. And when you change a methodology or a way of access, new computer, having your nephew from Arizona log into your business in California, change one thing at a time and just make sure that it doesn't damage your stuff before you make it part of your standard protocol. I have not seen this effect with every auto poster, but the particular one I utilized for this did do that to every listing I tested it on.
what you want to mention, which the one that was?
I'll tell you later because I'm friends with the guy there. I don't want to.
Okey-doke.
Yeah, sorry. But just consider the benefits. And one other thing to know, you can keep the orange up with pay-per-click. You can't do it with the red. You can keep your search visibility higher with pay-per-click, standard pay-per-click, Google Analytics and Google Ads pay-per-click, not the embedded one. But it will more dramatically affect your listings on maps. Next slide. This one's fun. If you do things the old-fashioned way and you're in the empty arena, which if you tap one more time, you'll bring up my favorite quote that pertains to Google Business. I heard this quote from Brene Brown, but it's Teddy's work. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or the doer of deeds, blah, blah, blah. The credit belongs to the man that's actually in the arena. What's amazing about Google Business is when you step into the arena, if you whisper, you're going to be the loudest person in the room. You have to show up to win. And Google Business is not, it's not like competing against national markets. If I have a soda or a beer that I've produced at a microbrewery and I try to put a commercial on local TV, I'm competing against Bud Light and Stella and all those other guys. On Google, if I show up and I'm the most attractive thing there, I'm the #1. So all you have to do is look around and see how quiet your industry is in the area to find out just how much you have to do to be a little bit better than the next guy. In the particular case study we've taken a peek at here, 15 locations across North America in a construction-related industry claimed their profiles. Just claiming gave them a really pretty boost, like 10%. But after minimum optimization of their profile, meaning correcting the information and giving them a profile picture and a cover picture, we grew their traffic by 12,000 per month by the second month over month period. And that did sustain.
Traffic to the Google My Business listing.
To their business listings, their organic search and their discovery across everything. And it was not a name recognition increase. So yeah, for those of us who dig into the analytics, Google Business will tell you how many people got to your listing because they typed in your name. The ones that are better are the ones that come to you because they typed in your category, restaurant near me instead of cookies near me, because that person's hungry, but they're just looking for food. They don't know they want a cookie. It's a much bigger market. So category searches really show how much your SEO impact is increasing, much more so than names, because if someone types in my business name, that means someone heard about me. That has to do with Facebook, word of mouth, postcards. I did something that someone knows I exist. But category based means that there's already an existing pool and I'm getting a bigger piece of that pie. So yay to that. What can you expect with your own profiles? Depends on your area. I've rarely not hit a 30% growth target in 60 days. And I mean, rarely enough that I don't actually know of any off the top of my head. What can you guarantee when you claim your Google Business profile? First of all, you can guarantee you don't lose traffic. I've had clients who come to me, and some of you who are listening to this definitely know someone who has a business that has their competitor's website or phone number on it, and they're hemorrhaging customers at the listing. And so what you have to know is that if you fix it and make sure that they know it's really you and it is really you and they get to you every time instead of being sent off on an alternate track, you're keeping the customers you already worked so hard to get. So don't make it easier for anyone else. And then the last little point here is what can disrupt precedent. And this goes into my last little bullet point over here on the right. Do you want to protect your listing? So just enough to keep it you? Do you want to present what you're doing? Meaning, do you want to make sure it stays current and interesting, or are you going to promote? Are you looking to blow up Google Maps in your area and be the #1 no matter what it takes? The trajectory and the momentum of your listing means a lot. But if you start breaking rules, if you start posting pictures that violate the rules, if you start posting things that get flagged by users as inappropriate, if you have a bunch of inaccurate information, all of those actions where someone has to step in and course correct your listing in any way from a user standpoint can tank your traffic. So claiming your listing is good, but if someone like me shows up and changes your phone number, it takes 72 hours for that change to take effect, which means you have to be in your listing at least once every 3 days to make sure that nothing has been submitted for a change.
That's one of the downsides of Google making it so user-centric and friendly. Like people can actually change your content on your Google listing
Right.
without your knowledge if you're not paying attention.
Yep. I had a client that was a golf course, and somebody would repeatedly change their map marker location to the nearby sewage treatment plant.
Oh, yeah, Megan, this was just funny because it was so personal, but I had this conversation with my father-in-law one evening, and I told him that. I'm like, people can change it. You have to be in there. You have to make sure it's actually, the person who does his is a Megan as well. Like, you have to make sure she's in there all the time. She called me the next day. She's like, I thought he was stupid when he came and told me this, but every single one of our phone numbers and every single address had been changed in 6 locations.
And I've seen it used in a very scary way in Billings, Montana, which is one of the bigger, more metropolitan commerce-based cities in Montana, like big enough to have 2 Costcos. So that tells you everything you have to know. A new salon opened, and I still to this day don't know which one the new one was. But from a Google Local Guide standpoint, you can log into the interface and click on edits, and they'll ask you to check information that's been changed in the area. And if you approve it, it gets implemented. And if you don't, it either stays in queue for one more person to check, or it gets removed from the queue as a potential edit. And the metrics and how that all happens, meh. But went up to Billings in my map and clicked on the edit button and saw that every single salon in the area had their phone number changed and their website changed and had been marked closed.
Oh my
And
God.
I am talking 40+ locations. And someone made that decision. And all it takes is one savvy person who's willing to sit there and do it and not feel bad about it later. So you have a listing, but it's a privilege, not a civil right. You have to protect it.
I want to add on to that too for you guys' listings. I can't tell you how many businesses, I'd say like the absolute majority of businesses that come to us are still haven't updated even their service areas, because in September of 2019, Google went away from doing a radius for what your service is to actually putting location. If you remember that screen that Brian showed earlier, which was like a weird kind of polygon that was drawn on there, that's what services switched to. So now you can put in either a city or a county that you service, and you can put in multiples of those locations. Most business owners are just absent at the wheel and have not updated those. So incredibly important, as Megan is saying, even what Brian was showing you before, you guys log in there, be present, be part of your listing. You guys need to absolutely at least make sure you've claimed it.
And one more add-on on this. For those of us who like spreadsheets and numbers, you can download information out of your listing that is really ugly and goes into an Excel sheet. It's wildly complex. It's no fun to look at. If you like spreadsheets, call me. If you don't, screen cap your Insights tab whenever you're in there, because that information disappears after 30 days. So you get that chart that I showed you on the previous page, but once that time is elapsed, you can't get that graph back. So screen cap it and send it in an email to yourself, or put it in a folder on your hard drive, so that you can take a look at January and compare it to October and see, am I doing good over the last 8 months or just the last 60 days?
How long does the CSV last?
18 months backwards from today, minus 2 days.
Nice.
Kind of depending on the time of month. The servers roll over a little differently from time to time, depending on maintenance.
Next slide.
Yep. All right. This was an example in a major metro area. This client came to me with a huge pay-per-click budget that had been implemented for 18 months. But they weren't able to get the next step forward. They had high quality conversions, but they didn't have a whole lot of them. We did what I normally do. And not only did we increase performance on the pay-per-click, meaning it got more effective and less null clicks, more of the actual appointments scheduled. But when the pay-per-click guy pulled their SEMrush report with no changes other than optimization, we took their SEMrush value on a national scale from 4 to 6% in 30 days.
So explain what SEMrush is, because most of the people don't have no idea what you just said.
Well, I'll explain it the way I understand it, because I'm not a SEMrush girl. It basically means how often they show up, how valuable it is, how easy they are to find. Am I close with that, Brian? That's my best understanding.
Yeah, SEMrush is a software that's used by SEO professionals like Wendy and Steven to measure traffic and analytics and rankings of keyword rankings for websites, for example. So yeah.
And it did maintain, and on 91 of 100 of their desired keyword search terms, we improved their performance.
And so reason that's very interesting, because the reason the keyword rankings increased in SEMrush, I call it SEMrush, but a lot of people say SEMrush, is because the Google My Business, the Google Maps listing is one of the ranking factors that shows up in those reports. And so because Google My Business is so important to rankings, they use that as a ranking factor. Some of our clients are actually on page 1 of Google primarily because of that Google My Business listing. You can actually turn that on and off in the software. It's like, show me the rankings without Google My Business, and they're like down on page 2, 3, 4, and 5. Show me the rankings with Google My Business, and because we've optimized that page and we manage it, they're like on page 1 of Google because of the Google My Business listing.
And what you can do when you start your Google Business listing is you can set yourself goals. I want to have this many pictures. I want to have this many photos. I want to get my clients to leave this many reviews. And if you focus on whatever your chosen goal is, I guarantee you'll come up across the board. So pick something you're comfortable with, that you enjoy in that profile, that feels approachable, and do it. Because we didn't even know that SEMrush increases like this would be possible until this point. And the fun thing was that happened in the height of COVID. Dead middle of COVID and shutdown, and their business is blowing up for the first time in 18 months. So pick a goal, go for it. You can't lose. Next slide. And I think this is the last one. This is the part that you can do 99% of Google business yourself, but if you want to start comparing your insights, that data, to find out how am I doing this month compared to last month this year compared to this month last year, do I usually see an 11% growth during July to August, or do I see a 15% growth? Meaning, am I getting more increase based on my seasonal fluctuations than normal? So for a lot of businesses, fourth quarter blows up. So if you pick up your Google Business Profile in October, you're going to feel like a rock star until January. And then that's going to roll around and change when nobody's shopping. So keeping in mind that there are seasonal fluctuations that impact those graphs and those insights, don't forget that. Now, the one thing that I'm sure you guys, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this, Anne, but during COVID, people fired their media and marketing people left and right, especially smaller businesses. And when that happened, most of the businesses I saw, the owner or the niece or the nephew or the employee that was now helping with that went to Facebook and Instagram, where they got catharsis and likes and everybody could commiserate. They dropped their Google business and it was horrible. I personally find more validation in cash. Likes just don't do it for me. And so what I've come to discover is that even marginal participation in Google business is usually enough to sustain your traffic, unless your business is Instagram or Facebook centric. And there are businesses that are, and there are businesses that aren't. And right now, with everyone stuck at home and insider info, Google local guides activity and contributions down by an amount that is cringeworthy. What you do on Google Business is more important than ever, because the public that used to contribute to your profile through traffic and photos and reviews and interest and searches, they're all home too. So now the burden is on business owners more than ever. This is, let's see. Big question here, is Google My Business user friendly? Insights are, the little pictures that you get are, the data that comes out of it aren't. How often the interface remembers what you did and might accidentally delete it. It happens more than you want to admit. Photos that disappear, it happens. You make a post and it goes up and it's down in 2 days. Do you get an answer from Google on why? No. So you put it out there as best you can, but you need to understand that you're not going to get a lot of context like you would from other social media mediums, other channels. The last part of this is my admonition to everyone. If you haven't left a review on Google as a local guide, go do it. Because Google does not give a business a feature unless they test drove it on the users of the program as local guides for at least 6 months to 2 years, which means what I'm contributing to Google Maps right now is what business owners might be able to do in a year or two. So if you want to be able to tell the future of Google business, become a super hyperactive local guide. It will give you insight into when things are rolling out.
There's a couple questions.
Yep. I think that was the last one, so we're good.
So I've got some questions lined up here, and it's kind of crazy because it's like.
You want to turn off screen share?
Huh?
Do you want to turn off screen share?
Sure.
Go.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So yeah, wow, so much information, all you guys. Just that was amazing. Can we all?
That was after editing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but all of you, just learned so much, and it's like, we just need a weekend getaway or something where we can all go and just be
my workshop
learning.
For
a big
my Google Business Competency Workshop is 10 sessions of an hour and a half each.
There you go. So listen, let's get to some questions. Drew Biharilal is asking, how often should you be posting pics and videos to your Google My Business page? Does it matter if you do not do it regularly?
It matters. So back to that whole be the loudest person in your room. Look up your competitors, whoever you think is stealing your customers, whoever you think has the customers you should have. See what they're doing, do it a little more than they do, do it a little better than they do. Create a Google Maps list. There's a feature where you can hit the save button and it'll save everything to a list that you can take a look at like instantly. Create a list of your competitors and then go in there whenever you feel like, why wasn't the till as full today as it should be? Take a look. Maybe one of your competitors claimed their business and started posting pictures. If they're posting 3 pictures a week, you post 10. Problem solved.
Okay.
I can tell you, I've done some research on how often, you know, businesses on average post to Google My Business and kind of the traffic stats. And the average for claimed listings, the average post on a Google My Business profile is like three to 4, like globally, and that's it. Like nobody's.
Yeah.
That's the average. So if
the secret sauce is
5,
twice
you're
a
better
week.
than 90% of the Google My Business profiles out there.
The secret sauce is twice a week unless you're in food, then daily.
Yep. Okay, good.
Wow. That's amazing.
Twice a week.
Next
So Cindy wants to know, why do posts not get published? Is it the size? Her photos get posted, but her posts do not.
I would check to see first and foremost if you're using the interface on Chrome. Then if that's all in order and it's still not publishing, open it up on your phone and see if you can post it from there. There's a different interface on your phone, so what you need to find out what your troubleshooting in that situation is there something wrong with my operating system on my computer, or is it something with my listing? Because the mobile app will always send that up there. Sometimes the system will get into a weird loop where you can click a button 1,000 times and it doesn't go up. The servers also go through periods of time where you'll log in and from the user side, you'll see doubles of every photo. All kinds of weird stuff like that can happen. So try it from different interfaces, try it with less information, try it with a photo you just took with your phone, try it from inside the app. And if all else fails, text me, because that there are weird things that happen in the interface and that happen to listings and regional software rollouts that can goof with all kinds of stuff.
Awesome.
Which is unfortunately not a very good answer, but that's the unfortunate truth.
Okay, Laura wants to know, what's the typical lift from the GMB listing click-throughs is to the company's websites, or any info on the company's KPIs that you've seen?
Ooh, hardball.
I was like wondering if I read that right.
It depends entirely on the industry and what you're optimizing for. If you're asking people to click the Learn More button and go through to your website, and you're giving them lots of opportunities to join the conversation over there, you're going to get better results. For the most part, I rarely ask my businesses to optimize based on click-throughs to the website for one main reason. Nobody wants to leave that main page. They have a product interface there that you can embed a shop here button that'll let you go straight through to your Squarespace or whatever your website is to buy things. They'll give you all kinds of click-through buttons. But for the most part, as soon as they leave the lightning fast interface of Google Maps, there's a good chance that the conversions are going to drop off. And so if you just want people clicking through, add a lot of those buttons. But otherwise, I don't have a single client who has ever optimized for that and had it gone well. Pro tip though, COVID-19 updates get 10x visibility. So talk about it all the time. There's a COVID-19 update button. We have masks, we're still open. Tie a super thin thread to COVID-19 and tell them what you want them to know. It'll help. It'll help immensely.
That's the one place that I've seen traffic increases from Google My Business to websites is through the COVID notices and learn more, because Google's putting that COVID notice at the top of everybody's listing. That's one of the things we haven't talked about, is actually that's a brand new feature in this era of COVID that Google has implemented onto everybody's profile. And it behooves you to put that in there, because people want to know, people actually want to know if you're in business or how you're handling, especially if you're health related business or your human contact related business. They want to know, like, how are you handling this?
But that has to do more with the psychology than the efficacy of click-throughs on the whole.
Yep.
Right.
Because we all want to know that stuff right now. It doesn't matter how many clicks deep it is.
Yep. So use it, leverage it as an opportunity to get clicks through to your website, if that's your goal.
We have found, though, with products that people, for our retail stores, they are making money off of the click-throughs from products. And we noticed it, not a huge amount, but enough that it was like, oh, this makes a difference for us. for these companies. So having those products there so people can buy them, that was helpful.
Especially, I don't know what you do, but I have it go straight to the page for that individual product.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which does make it go better.
Add to cart. Straight to the add to the cart. So yeah.
I'm gonna share the screen one more time. This is our the final screen with all of our contact information. If you want to do a screenshot of that, that's everybody in the room's information. I spent a good 15 minutes putting that little graphic together.
That's a good-looking group right there.
That's such a great. We need a poster. We need a poster size made of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Whoever photoshopped me.
Yeah, Natascha, thank you so much for organizing this. This was
yes, thank you.
This was really great.
No, this is amazing. It was just awesome.
There's a few questions we didn't hit here.
Yeah, there are. How are people doing? I know we're past our time, but
if anyone wants to blast their text questions into chat, I will answer them in writing on my business Instagram later.
Okay. Real quick, Drew had asked a question about how does Google My Business compare with Yelp listings? So typically you don't see Yelp in a Google My Business or in a map pack in there. So that's Yelp will show up organically. When I have people that are doing searches for just their industry in general, when like Yelp, Home Advisor, oh, hold on, where you guys go? Yelp, Home Advisor, and some of these other ones, Thumbtack and one of these other ones, when those are actually winning a lot in organic, I always tell people that's a great opportunity because as Megan and Brian said before, Google likes to reward for local businesses as well. So that helps in organic too.
So Megan, this is true, right? That about 6 or 7 months ago, Google basically devalued Yelp and Home Advisor and what's that other one that's like Angie's List, because it used to be if you looked up, I'm looking for a plumber in my area, the top 20 were one of those.
Oh yeah, they're a corporation, not the justice system.
And I think they devalued them recently, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any official press on that, but I know that there were some pretty significant spikes for any business that was invested in GMB at the time.
Right.
But it's also varies on the industry. We deal with, we have a couple hundred clients, and it varies along different kinds of industries. What will show up organically in the search results at Yelp versus, those other local platforms. I do a whole presentation on claim all your local listing, claim all those high ranking local directory listings, starting with Google My Business.
Yes. Well, Brian does a whole presentation that I spent 2 days afterwards doing all the things he told me to do. So if you get a chance ever to listen to Brian speak anywhere, just make sure you're there.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's definitely true.
Sherry asked a question. Can I ask that one? She's like, she tends to use Canva to edit some pictures and then post those to Google My Business. Is that going to be one of those things that's it's not going to be as authentic as just a straight picture?
If you want it to be pretty, use Canva. If you want it to get more views, post the raw image.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sherry.
If you use like the portrait editing or the color adjustment right there while you're taking the photo, you're usually fine. But any after editing can.
You guys, just to give you an idea of these images, I got a 360 camera last year around this time, and I wanted to get some initial shots just to play around with it. And I went to the Frederick Public Library, and I did like 12 shots walking around the Frederick Public Library. I didn't stitch them. I didn't do anything. Some of those shots have gotten over 10,000 views within 1 year. It's amazing.
Check this out. So as a local guide, I have my little story too. I took a picture sitting at a gas station in McLean, Virginia. They always get because my car is registered down there because my wife's military. And so I took a picture I took a couple pictures of the gas station where I got my inspection. That picture that single picture continues to rank on page 1 on their Google listing as the #1 picture. I've gotten 500,000 views from that one picture at a gas station as a local guide.
Yep.
People need to see what that place looks like.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy. And I think what you're even discussing too is like we need to take more pictures at work. If we're having a big event, whatever, like put those things up. I think it's just so important, and those are like easy value, but at the same time, it humanizes us as well. So it's just
especially
awesome.
Now, absolutely, like just
it's a way to give back. It's a way to help your clients, family, your clients, your customers, your people you care about. Like go and Well, you're getting a haircut you're at the place you do haircuts. Go take some pictures and post them on Google My Business and help that business out. Tell them about Google My Business. Hey, I just posted a couple of these pictures. You're not even listed. You haven't even claimed your page.
A couple takeaways that was mentioned that I want you guys to really get some like huge value on. Reviews, we talked about this before. Reviews are scraped nowadays. So again, just reinforce that. Make sure that when you guys are writing reviews for other places, be specific, especially if you want to give someone love. You don't just say, oh, Brian was awesome. Thanks, Brian, for all you did for me. Like, be specific. Brian did research on this, this, and this. And because of Brian's help, I'm now seeing this and this and this. All those little keywords and whether you write those are so, so helpful for all these businesses. I know you guys are in a lot of networking groups in general. The best thing you guys can do for your networking groups, if you don't have a good referral form, write a good review, right? Especially if you've used their services in the past. It's so, so helpful. And that alone can help them get the next referral, get that next, piece of business.
Absolutely. Yep. They're dropping like flies.
Awesome.
End it.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's great to see you and meet you
And
all.
listen, so just before we sign off, thank you guys so much. You're all amazing. Thank you all for coming. We are recording this, and it will be available on our C4 Explosive Networking YouTube channel. So please go and follow and subscribe to C4 Explosive Networking. And I hope you guys had fun. We're going to do more events like this with more experts like these guys, and probably these guys too, and more. So stay tuned for that. And come and visit our networking group on the first and third Tuesdays of the month from noon to 1:30. Same link, same password. And thanks again for sharing your evening with us at C4. We love you guys.
Yeah. Have a good
Yeah,
night.
thank you, everyone. Learned a lot.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you guys for coming.
Bye. Thank you guys so much. Man, y'all rocked it.
Thank you, Natasha.
So good.
Bye.
Thanks, Natasha.
You can come up. That's my husband. He's peeking around the corner. Can I come up now?